Thank you. Hamafkir Peir says, so this is an interesting daf where it gets into there's food decays, either from, like Rashi says, either from mice or just what's the other thing? I don't know if it's what the name of it is, like a decay, right? So shrivels, whatever it is. So you give something to somebody, so and to watch it, and then he's going to give it back. So the question is, how much does he have to give back? Because you have to account. You have to account for. There's a word for it. I know by grocery stores they call it shrinkage, spoilage. Isn't spoilage, shrinkage? Isn't the shrinkage the word they use for like with the stuff that picks itself up and walks out of the stores without being paid for?
We call that stealing.
I know, but there's the word that the companies use when
It's
they're
a loss factor.
okay, something along those lines. So that you have that too here. So you exclude the chesroinus, meaning the losses, meaning whatever the standard loss is. And now the Mishnah says what? Lechitim el is if it's wheat and iris. Rashi teaches it as millet. I don't even know what millet is, but I mean we teach it as rice. So that's tisha chatzai.
Isn't millet one of the five grains? Not rice, something else?
No, millet is one of the five.
Millet is not considered one of the five.
No.
It's a lesser degree grain in terms of brachas. It's a shayla if you make a mezainis on it, but it's not considered one of the five.
It's the same. It's like similar to
it's
rice.
Like almost like rice, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so lechitim la'ir is it's 9.5 kavin to a kur. That's what you call it, the loss factor, or whatever is the shiur l'sairin. I'm sorry, l'daichen for barley and daichen, right? Is tisha kavin l'kur. That's 9 kavin l'kur. That's a lot more, right? L'kusmin is spelt ulazera pishtan and flaxseed shalish sa in l'kur. It's 3 sa to a kur. Everything goes according to the measurement, and everything goes according to the zman. Meaning, it depends what time of the year, and it depends how big it is. So Rabbi Yochanan immediately has a kash on that. What do the akbar care? How big it is? Let's say you give him 5 pounds. So then the mice eat in ratio to the 5 pounds. Right? They eat whether you have a lot or a little. They're eating the same amount of food, which I don't know. That's not true by me. The more food you put in front of me, the more I eat. But so I don't know if what Rabbi Yochanan is asking is really a kasha. Ella, it's one kur, meaning if you have more than a kur, then you don't have to, like we said before, it's either tisha kavin to a core or tisha chatzoi kavin, 9.5 kavin, right, to a core. But so Rabbi Yochanan is saying, and then I'm sorry, the Tanakama says it's 9 core, 9.5 core, whatever it is, and then after that it goes in ratio. Rabbi Yochanan says no, up to the first core, then there's losses. After that, you have to pay back everything as normal. He says if you were given a large amount, any you don't subtract any chesronis nation mesiris, because it actually grows. Meaning it gets offset. Right, the loss gets offset by the gain because it expands, which the Gemara is gonna discuss. So the Gemara, Iris tuva chaser. You're saying that Iris loses, what do we say? 9.5 kavin. We know that Iris loses a lot more. But Iris kalav shana. They were talking about Iris that was already peeled. Right? That you don't lose as much as you do with the peel. Fine. Lakusman ulazera pishtan gimel sayin lakor. It's three sadakor. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Amar Rabbi Chia, zera pishtan b'gevaylen shanu. Zera pishtan, right, is talking about when it's in its givel, and it's what do you call it? Given the husk. It's in the husk. Tani nam yachi lakusmin ulazera pishtan b'gevaylen. That loss is talking about in gevaylen. Ulairis she'ena kaluf. And for iris that's not peeled, shleisha saw in the core, then it's 3 saw to each core. Okay, this is based on the regular grocery fruits and vegetables, however the Metzias work back then. Tana kain l'chol kur v'kur, l'chein l'chol shana v'shana. That's the sheet of the Tanakama. Every core you take that percentage off, and you don't have to give it back. And for every year, meaning, let's say it's 9.5 kav for every core, so that you take off 9.5 kav for every year that you're holding on to these grains, right? Because each year it continues to decay. That's according to the Tanakh. He says no, they eat as much as they eat, regardless of how much is there. There's a lot that gets lost, and a lot of it gets spread out. Right? Meaning, they told Rabbi Yochanan, you can't necessarily, just because you were given a certain amount to watch, doesn't mean that it's going to be any sort of perfect amounts, because the stuff can be spread out all over, and it can be other ruinations. So he said, when is this all talking about? When the owner mixed it in with his parents, meaning a guy came to him and gave him, let's say, 10 apples to watch for a while. So then he just took the apples and he put it in together with his apples. So now you have no idea who owns what. But if he was meyached a keren zavis, meaning if he just put the apples in a corner and said, these are your apples, then what, this is yours, take it. Right? This part was bothering me from the beginning. Meaning, this whole thing that was saying, well, I mean, if somebody gives me a bunch of things to watch, right? How long? Okay, if somebody gives something to watch, so I'll just give it back to him. What does it have to do with me with the percentages? All right, so what does it mean? No, it means if you told him, these are your apples and I'm putting them in the corner, I'm giving it back to you, fine. But that's not what happened here. Here, this Mishnah Somai, where the guy took the apples and mixed in with the rest of his apples. So that's why he has to figure out how much to give him back. So Gemara asks, and if he did mix it in, right, let him see how much it was, right? I mean, see how much was your fruit and see how much the other guy's fruit. So Gemara answers him, stop it, man. So where the guy was taking apples the whole time. Okay, so obviously why doesn't he know how much he took out? So when answers Pasha, he doesn't know how much he took out. Fine. Rabbi Yehuda, meaning, so theoretically, if the guy didn't know how much of his own fruit he took out, and then you would talk a separate.
How though? You don't know how much spoilage happened to yours or to his. You still can't make that.
You just have to go with the standard. You have to go with the standard.
But what's the Gemara's question? We would still have to make a calculation. Let's see, no, there's spoilage going on, and yours is mixed in with his, and you took out from yours. So all those factors make it that I can't just assume that all of the spoilage is on him and not me. How would they answer the question?
What do you mean?
I mean, what's the Gemara's question? But there's spoilage.
Yeah, I hear that. I don't know. I mean, meaning you just have to go with the standard percentages, no?
So that's what the Gemara is saying. When you don't mix it, you can just give it back to him. It doesn't matter because you didn't mix it. But when you mix it, you have to go with the ratios. So what is the Gemara asking? Lastly, no, that's not good enough. You have to make a calculation based on how much spoilage goes on in your proportion amount and his proportionate amount.
Right.
How's that a kasha on what the Gemara is assuming till then?
I hear. I don't know. I'm not sure. Yeah, I hear your point. He said like a true accountant, Akiva.
It's Pashut Shah the Gemara. I don't know. I don't
No,
know
I hear.
what's happening to us.
I hear. Okay, review the Aimerim Haisa. Right. So he says, if it's so big, so then you don't have to. We said the end of the Mishnah. If it's so much stuff, you don't have to take off for the decay because the improvement's going to help you. So kama mina meruba, how big is that? 10 kur. If you give 10 kur, then you don't have to do the subtraction. Kama mina meruba, asara kur and 10 kur. This is all when the owner is giving it back to him from the gairim, from what do you call the gairim, the granary. And he gave it back to him from this gairin. But if he measured it from his gairin, and he gives it back from his house, then you don't have to take off. Why? Because the measurements are bigger. Right? This is also Akiva. This one I had a hard time understanding. Basically, it's saying that there's different measurements. What you have to understand is like you go to a guy and say, "Here, I'm giving you a barrel of grain." Now, a barrel of grain coming from the granary, let's say, holds 10 pounds, and the guy gives him back. You lent me a barrel of grain. I'm going to give you back a barrel of grain, but a home barrel of grain is smaller, so it's only, let's say, 8 pounds. So basically, you're scamming the guy 2 pounds. That's what the Gemara is saying. So then, because you're already scamming the guy 2 pounds, so therefore you don't take the subtraction. Okay, I guess I'll look for that one later. Thank you. Right? Meaning the basis of which the Gemara immediately asks. Again, normally there's spoilage, as he called it, right? Spoilage. Okay, so then you don't have to give him back as much. But here, when the barrel size, let's call it a barrel size, is smaller, so then you're already the shomer's already gaining. Okay, so are we talking about stupid people? The Yavi b'kaila rabba v'shaklu b'kaila zuta. He goes and he gives you a large measurement, I guess, and then the guy gives you back a small measurement just because it has the same name. Right? Meaning, I guess the way to understand it would be: imagine if I gave somebody a 2-liter soda bottle. Forget soda, but let's go with schnapps. What do you call it? 1.5? What do they do? A 1.5 a 1.5
liter,
liter,
1.5
a 1.5 liter, and then the guy says, "Oh, here's a 8-ouncer." Right? They're both called the jug. They're both called here's a jug of schnapps. Oh, I'm giving you back a jug of schnapps. Of course, the guy's gonna. I mean, what kind of scam is that? Nobody's gonna accept that. So my answer is Dilma. What?
No, we're okay. Okay, sorry.
Yes, the says Dilma be my Hagairin. Maybe talking about in the Yemais Hagairin, which means it's in the Rashi says it's close to the time where it's already dried up in the sun. Because we're talking about where you measured it out for him, meaning he measured out to pay the guy back his grain that he was watching him in the days of the garden, and he also gave it back to him as a garden. But if it was measured out during the granary season, but then it was given back when it was when it was rainy, then you don't. Then he doesn't have to give him back, meaning he doesn't subtract for the losses because it got bigger, because in the rainy season the grains expand, which is also hard to understand, because are you really getting more grain? I guess. Isn't this like a proof of the foods that they have the pictures on and it says food looks larger than it appears on, like the cereals, right? It looks larger than it appears. Is that this type of scam we have going over here? Like so I'm saying a bag of rice, a bag of rice. So now it expands. So
No, but
Mamela.
what about the coleslaw with the juice or without the juice?
Oh, right, and economy. That's yeah. So how much of it
Or
gets absorbed? That'll be later.
according to the government, like if you buy a 5 pound bag of flour, there's plus or minus to those 5 pounds. There's an allowable loss
Five
factor that
percent, I think it's 5%.
something like that. I think that's what they're talking about. Like it's
No, the Gemara. That's the Gemara later on, Yaakov. I thought
But
there's a certain percentage that you're allowed to basically
yeah,
inflate
well,
it
that we're
on
going to
this
be
page.
coming. That's coming up in the
That's
next
later.
parak.
That's not. I don't think the Mishnah is saying that here now. Maybe. I mean,
Yeah.
that's for sale purposes.
But aren't
No?
there some on some jars of olives, like you have the dry weight, and it's like don't they have that on some jars in the store? They have like a dry weight, a dry
Right.
ounce as opposed
when
to regular
parrots
ounce.
when Parrots
Right.
listens to this later, he'll appreciate this analogy. When you buy meat wholesale, you're buying
Yeah.
it with the fat and the bones on it.
Oh,
Then
Sometimes
you
they have
make
to
it, it's
trim
half the
it.
size.
Then you trim it. And when he trims it, you lose a lot of stuff. That's the loss factor.
that's very good. Parrots Taka tells me that when he buys the schnitzel or the grill, the chicken, in Costco, he says it's much cleaner, right? So even though you might be paying more a pound, but you're getting a lot more. I think that's what Parrots usually says. I told you the Shiloh to happen. A major candy company asked me that they have like bags of potato chips. So in the bag, it says it's 15 ounces. Let's say I'm making up the numbers. And it says 10 bags of 15 ounces. But really, there's only 9 bags in there. It has 15 ounces, but it's only in 9 bags, not 10 bags. Does he have to change the whole production? Because Lamaisa, they're telling you that you're giving 15 ounces. You're getting the 15 ounces, but instead of 10 bags, it's only in 9 bags, right? So what's the story there? It's a good one, huh?
But the ounce is the same. The bottom line
The
is
ounces are the
total
same.
ounce is the same.
The ounces are the same. So Elio Ikovic called.
We discussed this already.
Well, I think in the
right?
morning share we discussed it.
Yeah,
We discussed
yeah,
in the morning
okay.
share. So Elio Ikovic called Rabbi Yomi Cohn, who says it's straight Gazela, Geneva. I'm hearing it from Elio, but he said that's straight Geneva. The mother that's coming, or the teacher that's coming to buy the bag, she wants 10 bags. She don't want 9 bags. It's a mekach tois, and you got to give the whole thing back. But the guy did tell me that they have it on a different type of candy, and those they just give to the office abundance. Because it says in there like they have 15 and there's really only 12, so that they save for the office bottoms, and that's what they donate. But
The 10 and the 9, they're not so sure that's Gazela. But the other one, they're sure it's Gazela.
no, because the other one, the percentages are off. Meaning the other one is talking not as many ounces. Yeah, let me tell you, it's crazy. It is crazy. Anyways, it sounds like something like that's going on over here. So what? I mean, is there any more calories? How do we measure it with calories? Meaning rice that's dry and rice that's expanded because it's the rainy season. Is there any difference in calories? I mean, from here, yeah, but from here it sounds like there's something to it that it expanded. It sounds like there's something more there.
Or Tziyako, is there a shiloh when it comes to bread if it has too many pockets? If what's considered a kazayis when it comes to a chiyuv brach on it?
What do you mean? If what?
Depending on how big the air pockets are in some pieces of bread, you could have a shiloh of what's a kazayis.
Mayor dropped me off. Mayor dropped me off. I'm sorry. What are you saying?
I said, isn't there a shiloh in the Mishnah Berurah about air pockets in bread when it comes to kazayis?
Yes, that's true. So you're saying that could also be?
Well, if it's not, it doesn't sound like it's real. It's not about mushrooms we're talking about here. We're talking about like expansion with air more than anything else.
Right.
It's not like it grew. We're not talking about spontaneous growth here. That after it's out of the ground, it's able to grow more.
I hear. I don't know. That's a good point too. What do you do with the air pockets? Yeah. Okay, weiter.
That's what they do with meat. No, they inject the meat with fake stuff. It's not all meat.
Sometimes. Oh, esrogim. I think esrogim also get water in it.
Yeah, the water. Right. So that's there's a certain amount you're allowed to do that also when it comes to meat.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
And okay, so Amalei Rav Papa Labai Im Kain Lifka Kaza. If it's going to expand so much, then the whole jug is going to break. So my answer is there was a story and the barrel broke. Or maybe it broke not because it grew, but because of the Rashi says it was a very small barrel, right? And they just because they expanded, so then it busted, right? Meaning because it's so stuck together, it doesn't have it doesn't they don't have room to expand. Okay. So the Mishnah Vayta. So now continuing on the measurements. If you give somebody a barrel of wine to watch, and of course we're talking about where he mixed it in with the rest of his wine, because if it's the same barrel, just give back the barrel and whatever losses are losses. So Yatzila Shtus Liyayin. You take off a sixth for the wine. And Rabbi Yehuda, you take off a fifth. Yimgara is going to say the machlok, what it is. You take 3 lug of oil from 100 lug. Lugu Metzia shmarim, 1.5 lug of shmarim for the junk. What do you call it? Dregs. Lugu Metzia bala, and a lug and a half of what the oil that gets absorbed into the sediment.
Sediment.
Yeah. Okay, and lugu metzia bala and lugu metzia that gets absorbed in. But if it was very shemen zayazach, like pure, then you don't subtract shmarim because it was pure oil. If it was old jugs, then he does not. Then you don't have to take out absorption because they're already absorbed. Meaning they're old jugs that are so saturated. And that's it. So fine. Even a seller of oil who sells good, clean oil all year round, he has to be makabel on himself, meaning the buyer is makabel on himself a lugu mechza shmarim per 100. Right? Meaning if the seller gives him 98.5 lug of oil, then he cannot say I'm supposed to get 100 lug.
Why though? Isn't that the whole point of buying pure oil, that you're buying 100 of pure oil? Pure oil, like isn't that the whole point of buying pure oil?
So we're going to see in the Gemara why that is. Okay, so there's no machlokes between the sixth, whether you take off a sixth of the wine or a fifth, marki asrei or marki asrei. Each one's somewhere at their own town, I guess, based on not demographics, based on how do you say it? Temperature, atmosphere, all that type of stuff will be dependent on how much wine. Like Basi, the Mar Chafu Bekira. Right. Well, the Gemara says a different way first. Ba'asri Damar Chafu Bakira, they smear the barrels with wax. The Loimayitz Tvei doesn't absorb too much. Ba'asri Damar, and the other one's town Chafu Bakufra, it's lined with kufra's tar, pitch, Umayitz Tvei, and that absorbs more. So it's really just tully in the first shot is tully in just how the particular locale uses barrels, right? I guess the same thing, sherry casks, not sherry casks, all those type of things. Or it's the types of clay, right? That they use. One type of clay absorbs more. This one doesn't. In Rabbi Yehuda's town, they would put 48 kuz of wine into a barrel. Meaning that was how many cups, I guess. Azil, and then Azil dana b'shisa zuzi, and a barrel went and they sold it for 6 zuz. Paras Rabbi Yehuda. So Rabbi Yehuda sold shisa bezuzah. He sold six of these kuz for 1 zuz. All right, on top of base. Dal tlasin b'shisa. So then if you take off 36 kuz of wine from the 48, because what he sold was 6, so then pashule tresar there was left. They have 12 kuz left. Dal timnaya shusi. You leave over. You subtract 8, right? And timnaya shtusi. No, take away 8, which is a sixth, right? 8 from 48 is a sixth. Pashulu arba, and he has 4 kuz. Meaning, so basically his profit was 4 kuz of wine, which is
What are
not
we
such a
telling?
big
We're
profit.
telling his secrets in business.
Basically, yes, we're going through his what do you call it? His paper, not his paper.
We're going through his books.
Going through the books, yes, going through the books. Don't get ready. Starting Friday, Bez Hashem. That
it's not.
it's all
It's not.
finance.
It's not a lot of profit.
What? It's not a lot of
It's not a
profit.
great profit. No, that's
Right.
the
That's
margins
exactly
are very
Gemara's,
small.
right. So that's the Gemara's next kasha. Shmuel Hamishtaker, somebody who Hamistaker, somebody who profits. Al Yistaker Yosef Al Shtus. Right? You can't make more than a 6th profit. This was not a 6th profit. This wasn't even close. Right? So the Gemara answers Ika Gulfi Ushmaraya. You have the barrel, and the Shmaraya, the Shmarim is the dregs, the sediment. Right? Because that he didn't give away, I guess. So Mamela, that's part of his profit. Then if that's the case, then it's going to be a lot more. Why? I don't know. I guess they knew that there's going to be a lot more sediment than that. So Gemara says, "Ika terchaya." No, you have tircha, right? The dummy udemei barzanaisa, and the money that it costs for the barzanaisa is the bartender. Right? He has to still pay for the tircha and the bartender. So those things all cost, are all worth things. Fine. If it's clean oil, then he doesn't have to take out shmarim. So what do you mean? We said that if it's very clear oil, so then that oil is not going to get absorbed, but it has to get absorbed. There's always absorption into utensils, which, by the way, glass not necessarily. So all these halachas may change with glass, right? Which gets into the whole thing why you can't. Can you kosher glass? Can you not kosher glass for Pesach? Not for Pesach. It's smooth. So maybe it doesn't absorb at all.
And yeah, are we talking about the second case or the first case when he says Bava?
No, we're talking about
the second case. The part of Mezukah or the part about
no. Anytime it says Bechulu, even though here the Bechulu is in brackets, right? It's going on the second part, which is I should have said that. Thank you. It's going on the part that it's absorbed. Peretz is here. Yeah.
Where's Avi Khan?
Avi Khan. Oh, you were listening? Avi Khan gave you good coverage, Peretz. All right.
You're recording, yeah?
Yes. We almost didn't. Avi Khan saved us on that. Okay. Anyways, it's going on the second part. So the Gemara says, it's not possible. Everything gets absorbed, which again, I'm saying nowadays, I'm not so sure our materials do absorb. So Rav Nachman bin Mezufafin Shana. We're talking about where they were Zephys. It was done with tar, pitch. So Abaye Omar Afilu Tema Shalevas Vavan, it can even be without Mezufafin, even the ton. Once a jug is fully loaded up, then it's fully loaded up. Even if you sell pure oil, I don't know if pure is the right word, clean oil, he's allowed to, meaning the buyer is only, cannot complain if he only gets 98 and a half. So I'm Rabaya. Basically, you could say based on our Mishnah that the Rebbe Yehuda says that you're allowed to mix in shmarim because Rebbe Yehuda holds that the seller only has to give 98 and a half kav out of 100. That must be because he has the option to mix in the shmarim, to mix in the sediment. It's also to be marish shmarim. That's why they tell you that if somebody's selling pure oil, he has to give 100%. And the Rebbe Yehuda, according to Rebbe Yehuda, now the Gemara explains itself. The day review them with the Larish Shmarim. According to review, it's mutter to mix in the Shmarim behind the time in the Makabal. And this is the reason why he accepts it. The Amrale, he says to him, if I wanted to mix it for you, Milay Arvilach, wouldn't I have been able to mix it? Meaning, just because I gave you pure oil, I could have mixed in the junk, and then you would have no choice. Hashanami Kabal, so now you have to be Makabal it also. I guess, David, that's what you were saying with the coleslaw with the liquid. The store owner doesn't have to turn it over and push this coleslaw down. He could. If I have the right to give you the liquid, I'm entitled to do that. right? So that's what we're saying. Rabbi Yehuda holds. So the
So
Gemara
Yaakov,
asks,
are you selling pure oil? Like, what does that mean? What are we talking about here?
what?
What are you actually? If you're selling pure oil, then that's what I sold it at. If you sell oil, oil has sediments in it.
No, I don't.
If you specify I want pure oil, I want 100 lug of pure oil. That's what you want.
Right. Oh, so we're going to get to that.
But the Gemara's case is talking about this loss factor. So when you order 100 lugs of this pure oil, 2.5% of it or 1.5% of it, you're entitled. The person selling you is entitled to give you the dregs.
But if it's pure oil, there is no dregs. Isn't that the point?
That's not the Metzias of the Gemara. The Gemara is saying they're entitled to give you up to a certain.
They don't have to, but they have that. Right? They have the.
So then it's not really pure oil. What do you mean by pure oil?
It is
pure oil. Does not have the sediments. You're saying? Did you say pure oil? Did you say stam oil?
Doesn't say it's not shemen zayz. It's refined. The Garkle says
let's
refined.
say I would sell refined oil. Can I still say I could put in sediments?
Yes, up to that percentage.
According to Rabbi Yehuda,
it's
it seems like
1.5%.
If you specify I want pure oil, that means I don't want sediments. What does that mean?
No, but
you're going to have to pay more for it.
I understand. So we're talking about where you didn't say I want pure oil.
Right. Well, let's see how the Gemara finishes off. But anyway, so that's what Rabbi Yehuda is saying, that he has the option to mix in junk, so he chooses. So I asked V'lei. Right. So why don't we say to him, ervaslei, have him as davenly? Why can't the buyer say, if you taka mixed in the sediment, have as davenly, then I could, meaning I can sell it, I can flip it because I'll have 100 core. Well, 100. What was the measurement again? To 100 lug. I'm sorry, 100 lug core would be too big, right? I would have been able to flip this for 100 lug, right? What am I supposed to do now? What are you going to do? Are you going to give me some shmarim? So you're going to give me 98.5 of pure oil and 1.5 shmarim. What am I doing with shmarim? I have nothing to do with it. So because you didn't mix it, Mameli, you take the loss. So when answers, it's not talking about a guy flipping it. It's talking about a balabais. The balabais is going to denichale betzila. He's very happy with the pure oil. So Mamela, he just takes 98.5. So, but why can't he say, but if you didn't mix it, you were Michael me? So that's not a time. Review tamei to less le mechila. Review goes according to the reason that he doesn't hold the mechila. The Tanan, meaning, okay, let's see the Mishnah. The Tanan machalayas at tzemed. If you sell somebody a tzemed is a yoke, meaning a yoke. That's what goes around the animals when they plow or when they do work, so they don't run around. So if a guy sells a tzemed le machalayas a bakar, meaning you go over to the guy and he says, "Can I buy the yoke from you?" And he says, "Sure. Here's the money for the yoke." The animals are not included in the yoke, right? So machalei is a tzemed, loy machalei is a bakar. Machalei is a bakar, loy machalei is a tzemed. And if the guy sells him the bakar, the tzemed is not included. Meaning, like in the car ads, they put in these fancy cars and they say starting at $39.95, but then in the small print, as pictured, it's about double the price, right? So meaning it's not, you only get what you asked for, right? Rabbi Yehuda says no. The money is going to tell us what you expected. If he said, sell me your yoke for 200 zuz, then everybody knows that a yoke doesn't go for 200 zuz, it goes for a lot less. It doesn't go for 200 zuz. So Memela, it must be he meant the yoke and the animals. The money is not a proof, and therefore, if he only said yoke, then it's yoke.
What about the issue of I know?
What
about the issue of I know? If I sell something, I don't know, that's way above, then I know.
I don't know. Maybe the guy offered it. Maybe the guy offered it as opposed to him charging it. I don't know.
So there's no isn't it a did I know built in no matter what?
I'm not sure. I guess we'll have to wait for the next parak.
It seems. I mean, the Chum seem very schwer. That ain't a dumb riot. What does that mean?
Right.
Isn't
Yeah,
that the whole idea of I know?
Right.
Not in Baba Basra?
What?
Isn't this Gemara in Baba Basra?
It's in Gemara Bava Basra, yeah. I don't know.
I'm asking for myself. I'm not asking from Baba
Okay,
Basra.
L'divrei Chachamim. So that's Rabbi Yehuda. L'divrei Chachamim also lar shmarim. According to Chachamim, it's also the mix in shmarim. By the time of the loy mekabel, and that's why the Chachamim hold like with what Akiva is saying. By the time of the loy mekabel, he doesn't have to be mekabel on himself 1.5. Meaning when you buy 100 smooth or clear oil, then that's what it is. If you wanted to mix it, if you wanted to mix the junk back into the oil, would it be mutter for you? I'm not accepting it. Meaning you couldn't mix in the shmarim. You were not allowed to mix it. So the memela, that's why you got to give him 100 lug straight up. So Papa said to Abaye, it should be the opposite. According to Chachamim, it's mutter to mix in the shmarim. I no time of the loy mekabel, and this is the reason that he's not mekabel. The Omar le midoloi araftali, since you didn't mix it into me, achuli achlisli, then you are meichami. Right? Meaning you could have mixed it in. Right? The first shot was saying that Chachamim, Abaye was saying that Chachamim say you can't mix it in. Rav Papa is saying no, the opposite. The Chachamim hold you can, and the guy didn't. He's Michael. The Rabbi Yehuda also l'arav shmarim. According to Rabbi Yehuda, it's also the mix in shmarim. I know time in the mekabel. This is the reason why it's mekabel. If I wanted to mix it, loy shari l'ruve, I wouldn't have been able to mix it. Kabuli loy kabal, and you're mekabelas. You're not being mekabel. Zavan v'zabin tagra ikri. So somebody who buys and sells for the same price, is that really called business? Meaning I got to make money somewhere. So how can you not give me that 1.5? Meaning if I'm selling you 100, so you got to take only 98. Otherwise I can't make any money. Right? So which is interesting because, okay, so figure out a different way to make profit. Doesn't mean you can. I mean, it's a basic way of hiding. Right? Isn't this the way they do it like Dollar Tree? Right? Dollar Tree seems to sell the same foods, but they may sell them in smaller measurements. Right? They make it look like you're getting it for cheaper, but you're getting like the fruit roll-ups. I know is instead of 8 in a box, you get 4 in a box, and you think you're getting a bargain, right?
It's it's more money per ounce that you're paying.
More money, right? It's more money per ounce, but that's basically what this guy's doing. Instead of raising the price on the oil, he's saying I'm only giving you 98.5 instead of 100. Fine. Tana echad lekeach ve'echad amafkid. Both and a lekeach, somebody who buys fruit or grain or oil or wine, whatever it is, ve'echad amafkid, and whether somebody is watching the wine, the pekatim. When it's for pekatim means like not dregs. It's like what's on the top of beer, the suds, whatever that type of junk.
Yeah, suds foam.
So my pekatim. The same way the lekeach doesn't mekabel, meaning you go pour a guy a beer in a bar and half of it is the foam. The guy's going to say, let's give me more. Mafkid nami le mekabel. So the mafkid also does, meaning when the guy gives the beer to somebody to watch and he gives it back his beer and he pours him his beer, he's going to say, hey, you got to give me back my full beer, none of the junk, none of the whatever they're called. So the lay malay, pikadach my avidlu. What am I supposed to do with your junk? Right? Meaning the seller and or the guy that was watching it says, well, I have nothing to do with this. Is your beer. So that can't be. The same way the mafkid is makabel the junk, the way he gets it back. So the lekeach also. So when you get a beer, when you get poured a beer, then there's suds, you have to accept the suds. So I'm going to ask me makabel lekeach b'katim. Does the lekeach makabel b'katim? V'tanu Yehuda I'm relying on shemen akur elo l'maycher b'vad. We only said that there's a loss of shemen that's not clear, right? Like the oil that they sell for Hanukkah menorahs. That's only for the Meicher. Shari Lekeach Makabel, because the Lekeach was Makabel on himself, Logan Mefta Shmarim, but like Pekatim. A Logan Mefta without Pekatim. Right? So, meaning he's makabelit on him. He was makabelit, right? But it doesn't mean that that's the default. I mean, the Gemara before is saying that the lekeach has to be makabelit, right? But before we said that the shemen okar only goes by the seller because the like I'm sorry, I explained a little wrong. This price is saying that the meicher since since the lekeach was already makabel himself 1.5 lug less. So then the meicher has to be makabel, meaning he has to swallow, no pun intended, the suds or whatever that stuff, right? So you see, it doesn't have to be swallowed by the lekeach. The kasha hadayav lezuzi betishrei. It's not a kasha. One is the one where he gave the money in Tishrei. The kashakal mine benisan kimida de Tishrei, and when he took it from him, he took it from Nisan when it was going with the Tishrei prices. And in Tishrei, there's usually junk mixed in with the oil. So Mamela, that's why the guy buying it has to be Makabal himself. And Hadiyav le Zuze ben Nisan, it's where he gave money in Nisan, because Shaka ben Nisan, and he took it from Nisan, so then it's Kimida de Nisan, and therefore the purchaser is supposed to be getting pure oil, and therefore nobody else he doesn't have to accept it on himself. Okay, we'll stop over there. Just say a tillim.